All right, welcome back to Lou's How To Demos. So today we're going to be talking about Nessus, how to create a basic discovery scan. So we're going to log in with our Nessus credentials. So we have an existing scan. So we're going to make a new one. And here's all our different templates. So here we have some discovery ones, some vulnerability scans, and some compliancy ones. These would have to have a paid version of this. So we wouldn't be able to use these, but could we make one? Sure, because we can go under advanced and do that. But we're going to start with the basic host discovery. So we're going to go with the host discovery. I'm just going to call it host discovery. I'm going to just put that in there. If I had a better description, I would. And then here, I'm going to do 192.168.30.1. Because we're not going to use, because it can't scan a whole network. So we can only scan roughly 20 IP. So I'm just going to give it a range of IPs. And then, again, we could, if we had the paid version, we could do a schedule. Since we don't have a schedule, we can't do that. If we had set up for email, we could do an email. So if we had our SNMTP configured to send emails, we could. Then we have our host discovery settings and all that. So then we have our plugins. And you see, we don't really have any plugins configured because we're just doing a discovery. Okay. And then at that point, we're just going to hit launch. And then we can watch the discovery go. So now it's moving up top because it's in bold because that's the one that's running a scan. So there's another scan where I'd gone and did the other one. All right, so that's how we create a scan. And then if we want to view it, we can just click on the name. And then here we can see things as they show up. We can see the host names as they show up. All right, thanks for watching. All right, welcome back to Lou's How To videos. All right, so we created a scan. So now let's review it and see what we can see. So we created a host discovery. So let's see how many devices it found. One, I guess. Not all the computers in the classroom are up and running. So here we go. So here we have our vulnerabilities. Basically, here's the Nessus scan with remote ping. So that's how we found stuff. Okay. And then we can generate a report. So we could do it in HTML, or we can generate it in something else. Then we're going to generate a report. And then there we go. So nothing critical there. So list of vulnerabilities. Okay. Not a very good report to look at. All right. But it's a host discovery. What do we expect? So here we have our basic scan. So let's see what we have here. This is one that I've created in the first video. Oh, so here we can see a bunch of different things. So we can see a bunch of informational, and again, we can see we have medium, low. We don't have any criticals or highs. So that's pretty good. So here we have history. So we can see here's the different scans when they ran. So we have one that ran today and ended this morning. So we can do that. And then here we have some notes saying it didn't like this address. Okay. Not a problem. So I guess we had some DNS issues trying to look for DNSR. So let's look in our host, or let's go back and select a basic scan, and we can go more, and we can go to configure, and then we can see, whoa, there we go. I guess we had one extra comma in there that gave it an issue. Oh, and then a period. So that was our problem. So we go ahead and fix that. There we go. There's an example of modifying. Then we're just going to save our problem. And then here we can go in here and we can export this. I guess without the paid version, you can't really export it. Again, we generate a report and then open it up. In there we can see on the different IPs, there was a couple of machines that were on at the time of the scan. So again, we have a medium here, we have lows. So this is like a high level report. Maybe you want to send this to your boss or something. So when we're talking about launching reports, we can do customs, we can put in the custom IPs, or we can launch the same thing with another one. So we can go with operating system vulnerability and see what this looks like. Here we can see this basically is telling us each IP is telling us what OS it's on there, the MAC address. Like right here, IP address forwarding is enabled. And then here it gives us a description. And then here it can tell us here how we can fix this. In Windows, here we can fix this. Mac, how we can fix this. So then it gives us our different scores, our risk levels, medium, our CVE, gives us our different scores. And basically here gives us a summary of these things. So again, a lot of these third-party people that you hire or companies hire to do these types of scans, they have basically the pro version allows you to take out your Tenable's name and put their company name in there. So I find it sometimes kind of interesting when people want to pay for vulnerability scans and there's nothing to do at this point but basically, create the scans and then they just put their name in there and then they walk you through it. Or maybe they have their own custom template that they put stuff in there. Again, depending on how they operate. But a lot of places will just use the CAN report to give to you. So you would typically would get like two. You would get like an executive one, high level one for the executives, the people don't know anything, and then a more detailed one for the IT department. So, so here's basically the scans, and then we can review. So we can review all the ones that have. So we have one firewall. We have a mixed SSL certificate issue. Oh. And these are basically self-signed certificates. No, there's nothing wrong with them. It's just basically we don't have a trust factor because they're self-signed. So that may be acceptable depending on your organization. Because we're not going to go buy signed SSL certificates for every device that the public doesn't use, but like the IT department uses. Or maybe you're a large Microsoft shop and you set up your own Microsoft trusted certificates. They'll still show up here because they're going to be signed, but they're not going to be trusted. So they'll still show up here. It's just because Nessus is not going to trust Microsoft because it's not part of the Microsoft domain. Oh, you could, perhaps see that. And what is nice is you can see the different revisions of these, and then you can see which machines came in and fell into a vulnerability. So that's kind of nice too. You can also, if you have the full version, you could export this, save it in your system. Like an example, I have a couple of Nessus scans that I run for some compliances at my old place. And so I had a large enough drive where I would just keep the results there and delete all the ones that I don't care. So this way, if I ever had been audited, I could say, oh yeah, here's all the scans that I've been doing for the last, year. So I'll keep them, and then I'll get rid of like let's say if I keep it for 6 months, when a new month starts, I get rid of the old month for the first month, just so I can have a history of it. So that's pretty much it. And then generate a report again. You can export if you have the paid version, which I don't. And then basically you can generate reports. Or again, you can just, click through and just view, whatever. And then you can just click on viewing, whatever you want to work on. You could then take a screenshot or, export this part of the page. Or take a screenshot of it and so you can send it to whoever needs to take care of these things. All right. So that's a quick example and viewing, the scan after it's finished. So hopefully you've been enjoying these little videos. All right. See you in the next one.